down book and backwards. Excited to get back into our story. Things are definitely shifting as Brightbill is migrating and Roz has just, it seems, barely survived the winter. Many animals, as we know, did not survive the winter, and Roz has invited animals to join her in the lodge so that they can stay safe throughout the rest of the winter. What does that? Cal, that needs to go back in there and stay in there with the lid, please.
Okay.
Thank you. So our next chapter is 56, of course, and this chapter is called The New Lodges. So I'll be very curious to see what is happening next. And Cal is here. The second lodge would have to be bigger than the first if it was going to fit Broadfoot, the bull moose. Big animal. He was a towering bulk of an animal and had a thick coat of fur, but even he was struggling with the frigid temperatures. Broadfoot lived on the other side of the pond in a dense section of forest that was home to many animals, most of whom were in desperate need of a good thaw, meaning they needed to warm up. The winter days were short, so there was no time to waste, and rather than walking all the way around the pond, Roz tested its frozen surface to see if it was safe to cross. It does not sound very safe, Roz. She threw a heavy rock high in the air and watched it bounce off the hard ice. Then she carefully walked over the ice and into the forest, and on the other side, where she found Broadfoot waiting for her. The moose quietly led the robot to the clearing in the trees where the new lodge would go. Then Roz made a fire and watched as cold creatures began crawling out from shadows. Hey, cold creatures crawling? Cal, do you know what kind of figurative language that is? When we have the same repeated onset sound.
Like they're shivering?
They're very cold. This is called alliteration when you see that very intentional repetition of onset sounds in text. This is a trick that Peter Brown is using to further entice us into the story, and it just sounds nice on the ears when you hear that repeated sound. Then Roz made a fire and watched as cold creatures began crawling out from the shadows. Kind of makes your brain think and like stop and think for a moment. It's nice. Do not worry, the robot said to the growing crowd, steam puffing from their noses. You will all be warm soon, but I need your help. Roz asked the animals to collect anything useful they could find. Large stones, strong branches, chunks of frozen mud. With the robot's building expertise and the small army of helpers, construction of the second lodge didn't take long. The animals happily agreed to the robot's truce, and then they shuffled into the warm wooden dome. If you keep the fire alive, it will keep you alive, explained Roz as she dropped another log onto the flames. But be careful, fire can turn deadly in an instant. At dawn, heavy snow was falling again, and there was Roz setting out from the nest to build a third lodge. She trudged into the great meadow where fierce winds had created enormous, sweeping snowdrifts. But she powered through and finished the job and was soon beginning work on a fourth lodge and then a fifth. The island became dotted with lodges that all glowed warmly through those long winter nights, and inside each one, animals laughed and shared stories and cheered their good friend, Roz. So what has happened here, my friends, is that Roz has created this incredible sense of community over winter. She solved a problem. What was the problem that they were facing during the winter, Cal?
That they were facing the storm.
Yeah, they were really cold, right? It's hard to survive out in the forest during the winter. And the solution that Roz came up with to that very tricky problem is that first she invited them to live in her cave. And once that, or not her cave, her nest. And once that got too crowded, she actually built homes for the rest of the creatures in the forest. So she continues to show us who she is. And I remembered after I posted our last video that I told you I was going to upload pictures of all the creatures we've seen so far this summer. So I will include those now because, wow, we've seen a lot of creatures. Please tune in. Please join us tomorrow for Read Aloud. Oh, hi, Mr. Keller.
Hi.
Tomorrow, unfortunately, my friends, the chapter is called The Fire. So I think you can use what you know about fires and the forest and this picture to start making some predictions as to what the problem that we will be facing next will be. But until next time, love you guys. I love reading with you, and I love that you're tuning in so that we can all continue reading together. Happy day, and I'll see you soon.